My name's Alan Cassidy, and I'm a climbing guy. My name's Alan Cassidy. I'm a director of the Climbing Academy, based in Scotland. Yeah, I've been into climbing for 25 plus years. I got into climbing through my dad, who had been climbing pretty much from around about the time when I was born. So it's kind of a family passed me down. Yeah, it's just been something that I've been obsessed with at the age of 12 or something like that, and been the one kind of constant thing in my life since then. That's what I want to do, and all I want to do is climb. My first experience of climbing, I've struggled to pin it down exactly because in that kind of vague childhood memories, but I've got some memories of going to Bowden Doors in Northumberland and seconding various trad routes there. I don't think many people nowadays even realise that there's trad routes at Bowden Doors and think of it as a bouldering venue, but doing stuff like that. And then I was brought up in Perth, so there's Dunkeld Crags nearby, and we used to go there a lot. Relatively quickly, my dad got me leading trad climbs, which was actually quite a bold thing to do as a parent, but he was cool with that, and I think that's really shaped me as a person and my sort of attitudes in life. So that was an experience I'm really grateful for. One of the other real pivotal things for me was the opening of the first kind of dedicated climbing centres in Scotland. So Alien Rock in Edinburgh and Glasgow Climbing Centre here in Glasgow. We used to, in the winter and midweek, travel back and forth. And I think that's where I met other climbers who really kind of influenced me as well. So I was lucky enough when I was a 16-year-old to get taken away by some of the Edinburgh climbers who were all in their 20s and just let me come along on a trip with them, and that formed me even further. In fact, I probably wasn't even 16, I was actually younger than that. So I was, again, I was really lucky that my parents were cool with me doing this and exploring this climbing life. I've never been the best person, but I've always kind of had a bit of dogged determination. So after I went to uni, I kind of was still doing comps and gradually kind of got better, and then got selected to do a few comps abroad. So I think I've done 3 or 4 World Cups in lead. So I came back with good experiences rather than great results. But it's a cool thing to be involved with. But yeah, the level in UK comp climbing that is now so much higher than it was when I was there. I did some boulder comps, but I've never been as great a boulderer. And looking back, I wish I'd kind of tried harder at bouldering when I was younger. If I could go back to speak to my 16-year-old self and say, build some more power. So it's a funny one because Scotland's not a great place for sport climbing, but when I was getting into climbing as a whole, there was a kind of bit of a surge of development of the first sport climbs in Scotland. I think for my dad, whilst he was putting me on these trad climbs and stuff like that, there was also perhaps there was a sort of safety element of you can go sport climbing and it's not always super stressful for him. So we would do quite a bit of sport climbing, and then that trip that I was talking about where I went away with the older people from Edinburgh and we went to Sayous and just seeing what was possible and people climbing at these super high grades. The climbing magazines at the time were all about Ben Moon and Jerry Moffat, who were putting up like the world's hardest climbs of the time, and I think that just captured my imagination. Yeah, so 8C was this kind of dream grade that I had, just because of seeing pictures of Ben Moon climbing 8C when it was brand new grade, so it was a big milestone to have achieved that. And then Metalcore was the first 8C plus in Scotland, and I remember going to the Anvil when it was first sort of discovered and being developed, and Rob from TCA and I kind of got on this project that had been bolted, which turned into being Metalcore, and at the time not being able to fathom being able to climb it. So then it was Dave Mack climbed it, and it became Metalcore, 8C plus, and it just, you know, kind of captured my imagination to go and back and see if I could actually get to the point where I could do it. And yeah, it was quite a dedicated phase where I was, you know, taking things quite seriously, and I got to the top. What more is there to say? Massive anticlimax, perhaps. No, I was really proud of it. It was good.
Can't believe I just did that. A much wanted moment.
Basically, a few years after I'd climbed the 8C plus in Scotland, Metalcore, life took a bit of a turn. TCA started up, got married, etc. So I my climbing went backwards a little bit, and I got this drive, right, let's go for the next thing. Like, let's just see if we can do a 9A. So this 9A in a place called Flatanger, which was just a newly developing place called Nordic Flower. And I'd seen some pictures of it, and like some little bits of clip of it, of the guy doing the first ascent. I thought, wow, that looks like the 9A for me. I sort of started to train and was kind of thinking of going on this trip. Basically, it was downgraded in the intervening time, but you know, I've only done one 8C plus, so let's go see if I can get another one done. So we still went on the trip with that goal, and that trip was interesting on so many levels, not least because one of the guys that was there with had a really bad accident in the middle of our trip, so that kind of interrupted the positive vibes quite a lot. But in the end I managed to do the climb, and it definitely felt like, for me at that moment, a step up from the 8Cs that I'd done. So I thought there was an 8C plus, and left feeling quite psyched about that. Although subsequently Ondra then went and on-sited it, said it was 8C, and a few other people have repeated it, and it, you know, some people have said 8C plus, but I think it's trending towards 8C. Still super psyched to have another 8C under my belt, but more importantly, the climb itself is just, I think I was on it for about half an hour, and it's almost entirely upside down. You know, it's just bonkers. It's hard to describe the scale of that cave until you actually are standing inside of it. None of the it's really hard to take a photograph that explains the sort of geometry of it. It's amazing.
Yes! Woo! Oh, finally! Oh. Cassidy cliche, most much wanted moment.
I guess it's quite hard to separate your highest achievements and your best experiences if you're quite driven by high achievement. So a lot of my best experiences have been, you know, when I've done some kind of goal grade or goal route. Not to say that my best experiences haven't also been times when, you know, topped out on a big multi-pitch route and the sun's setting. You know, that's the sort of moments that like really make you appreciate being alive. And I've jotted down every 80 that I've done. I've done over 300 myself, and I would love to do 1,000 in my lifetime. You know, that would be cool.